There's debate and there's more than just a debate. The latter is what you get on Kenya's #1 debate platform, the Great Debaters Contest. I'm your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperanza Kapanga. And the motion on the table today is human irresponsibility is to blame for water contamination globally.
Proposing this motion, we have Makueni Girls High School, who promised to bring their A game.
And opposing the motion is Mwala School, who promised to be sure victors. Proposer number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Vivian Richard, Makueni Girls High School. Human irresponsibility is to blame for water contamination globally. Human irresponsibility and water contamination relate in the fact that human beings don't think enough on what the effects of what they do by introducing toxic substances into the water sources, making it unfit for human consumption. As we all know, all living organisms require water for survival, and definitely the water has to be safe for usage. And that is exactly why I stand here to propose the motion that human irresponsibility is to blame for water contamination globally. On to our first point, we talk about eutrophication. Eutrophication, which is the most prevalent water contamination agent. Eutrophication is the breakdown of organic nutrients which constitute of phosphates and sulfates. These nutrients are brought about by application of manure and organic fertilizers which are used in the farms. This leads to excessive growth of algae, a phenomenon known as algal bloom. Guess you've all heard about it, right? Algal bloom reduces the light penetration, which reduces the primary productivity of the aquatic animals. What will happen? Let's take a look at our lake, Lake Victoria, that is shared by the 3 East African countries, which are Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. It is covered by the water hyacinths. What will happen to the fishermen who tend to work there? They take fishing as their own economic activity. What will happen to them? Let's go down the drain to the fishermongers who depend on selling the fish, and also, worst of all, to all consumers who love eating fish. What will happen to those consumers? As we look onto the septic system, due to human negligence, they tend not to properly fix the disposal points of the waste substances that are emitted from the humans. At some point, if they are not fixed well, the septic system may block, or they may block and lead to leakage. This will allow the water to run off into the water sources, and as we all know, we all have to use water for survival, right? And that is why I'm leaving you with this question. What will happen to us if we take that water? Won't we get sick? Who is ready to get sick? Thank you.
First proposer, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statement.
I know most of you might be wondering why I have started by the laughter. But I want to say that it is the quote. I want to say the quote which states that he who laughs last laughs the loudest. Indeed, I am the last to laugh at this juncture. I'm perturbed, mesmerized, and flabbergasted when I hear my sister from the proposing side trying to insinuate that ultrafiltration is a human irresponsibility. But I want to ask you, how exactly do you mean by that? Paul Ojijo, Mwala School, strongly opposing the motion that says human irresponsibility is to blame for water contamination globally. First of all, I'd like to begin by nitrates. Most of you might be wondering again why I'm talking about nitrates. But I want to begin by a question. Who in this crowd can tell me that they are the bell ringers? They go to the animals, and to be precise, the aquatic animals, to go and tell them that this is the time to carry out the biological activities like defecation. Nitrates are released by the aquatic animals. And when they are released in water, that water is contaminated. And again, my dear sister, please let us know the meaning of these words. What do you mean by contamination? You have not told us. But I want to tell you that contamination is basically anything, any substance in water apart from the water components itself. We know them, hydrogen and oxygen, for those who have doubt. So, on to my second point, turgidity. What exactly is this turgidity I am talking about? Turgidity simply means it is a measure of degree to which the water loses its transparency, simply because of suspension of particles on water. Take an example of Krakatau Mountain in Indonesia in 1883. This is according to American Journal. Go and read it, page 219 to 220. Even there's a picture there explaining very well. When that mountain was being erupted, it released ash falls. Ash falls, how do you mean ash falls are human irresponsibility? Surely. You can't tell me that ash falls are human irresponsibilities. So when we are talking about human irresponsibilities, I'm urging you to please join our side and oppose this motion because it is clear you did not research well about the topic matter. Thank you.
Second proposer, you have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
Purity Saidi, Makueni girls. What he has said that he who laughs last laughs best. I believe he has laughed the first person, right? We didn't say water filtration, we said eutrophication. I would want to tell you that eutrophication is breakdown of organic nutrients. Organic nutrients are the fertilizers we use on our farms. I believe we humans are the people who apply fertilizers on the farms, right? To my first point, industrial effluents. These are untreated toxic substances from industries. Factories and industries are operated by human beings. Where do you suppose these toxic substances that come from the industries are released to? Let's take a look at the third world countries which are spread all over the world. These countries lack proper disposal measures of these wastes, coming down to our own river Athi, where wastes from the industries around are released into the river. These toxic substances tend to contain cadmium which are harmful to aquatic life, arsenic, and mercury which later turns to methane that is harmful for consumption of human beings. This is supported by the KLB Biology Textbook, 4th edition, Form 3. Let me ask, do these wastes release themselves into the water sources? Who are the managers of these wastes so that they are released to the water sources? Definitely, it is we humans. To my second point, deforestation. Deforestation is simply cutting down of trees. Who are responsible for cutting down of trees? Not animals. It is we. And why do we cut down trees? For our own material benefit. Why then should we go and blame the nature on pollution of water? When deforestation occurs, soil erosion tends to come in. When soil erosion occurs, silt is eroded into water sources. Siltation causes clogging of respiratory surfaces of aquatic life, both the plants and the animals. This also makes the water unsafe for human consumption. Really, let's look at the origin of this situation. Let's go up the pyramid. Where did all this start from? It started from the human cutting down only a single tree. And then the human saw profit in these trees, right? They continued cutting and it increased, it became rapid. This leaves the land bare. So we are totally the perpetrators of contamination of water all around the world.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
I'm Moses Mwema, proposing, I just said, man is to error. It qualifies as an act of barbarism to even think of opposing and proposing this measure to be precise that human responsibility is to blame for the water contamination globally. First of all, we have these toxic substances. I'll tell you that. You have said that we have this untreated industrial waste going into water bodies. According to the American research, the GC Dos Santos Bazanella cited 2012, it said that only 12 tons of plastic leak into oceans each year. According to the same organization, it says that 24 tons of metallic oxides get into water. Let me ask you, between 13 tons and 24, which are more? When these toxic substances such as metal, hydroxide, nickel, barium, beryllium, cobalt, molybdenum, tin, vanadium, etc., they are all natural and they are present in water. We cannot prevent water from getting into or coming into interaction with these metals. These metals, they are never there because of human responsibility. They are God created. When the earth was formed, they were there. Right now, they are still there. So the proportion of this metal hydroxide and oxides, the proportion of human responsibility is less compared to this one. Then my second point, volcanic eruptions or pollution. The earth in its natural, untouched state contributes to the global pollution. As we all know, sulfur oxide, when released into air or the atmosphere, it mixes with water vapor and causes what we call acidic rain. And this is so much the global scale. Through atmospheric circulation, these outgassed gases, they get disposed into a very clean environment. But at long last, acidic rain falls. Is this human responsibility or is it a form of the earth carrying out its natural causes? Because right now, when the volcanicity or the volcanoes don't erupt, we won't be having any scene for the tourists to come into. As we talk right now, Mount Clear volcano in Hawaii is erupting when the lava enters into the sea. Plumes of smoke with sulfur dioxide and other poisonous gases are going into the atmosphere, and they are getting their ways into the water, hence acidic rain contaminating the water. Let me tell you, it's the perfection that when you join our way, you shall go to heaven. Thank you.
For the questions, the proposers have been asked to state the cost of fertilizers that are applied to plants, and the opposers have been asked to compare the cost of preventing water pollution and actually polluting water. Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes.
Michelle Mutinda, Makueni Girls. On to your first question, the cost of fertilizers applied to the plants. I will refer you to a supermarket by the name Tuskys at the river of 100 kg of CAN at 900 Kenya shillings. On to my first point, mining activities. During the mining processes that take place in mines, water bodies, e.g. Lake Magadi in Kenya, elements such as uranium are mined in their raw forms and they contain harmful chemicals, thus increasing their toxicity. When these elements come into contact with the water sources and the water bodies, for example, in Nigeria, where gold mining was taking place, but unfortunately, the miners realized that the mined gold contained lead, which came into contact with the water bodies present in the area. People living near these water bodies had consumed the contaminated water, which they suffered great loss, especially the pregnant women who suffered a much loss, since they gave birth to deformed children. Thus, we term it as poisonous since the activity itself emits several metal wastes and sulfides, worsening the water conditions. Oil spillage. The vehicles, let's make it wider, machineries, especially the ships, traveling in the water bodies Indian Ocean, for example, we see that most of them release oil into the water bodies, thus contaminating the water, oh my God, sorry, thus contaminating the water, oh my God, thus contaminating the water lives. When the aquatic animals present in the water are affected by the oil spillage, they die. When they die, what happens to them? There's nothing more that can be happen. This is caused by the human irresponsibility. To the opposers, don't try and play the devil advocates by blaming nature for water contamination, when we clearly, all the blame goes to human irresponsibility. Thank you.
Third opposer, you have 3 minutes to answer the question.
They say the tales of a snake, of a man biting a dog on its tail, or the tale about a man swallowing a snake wholly while alive, is not only grandiose, but such acts as proposing such a motion that human irresponsibility is to blame for water contamination is also grandiosity. First thing first, I would like to answer the question posed to us by the congregation. They asked about the cost of whether it is cheaper to treat the pollution, the pollutants that are put into rivers, or either to prevent the pollution into the rivers. But I want to tell him, but our motion is not about the cost of whether it is human, whether it's not about the cost of prevention or the cost of treatment, but it is about whether human is irresponsible in water contamination. I would also want to pose a question unto the proposers. What they have told us that pollution is caused into water lives, but if we put this into senses, what actually are water lives? They have also told us about oil spilling, but I want to ask how many they should give us a statistic or an example of water that was spilled in the ocean, or how oil got into the water as a water pollutant. I am Alvin Warongo, here to antagonize the motion, or if you like, oppose the motion that says human irresponsibility is to blame for water contamination. We talked about turbidity, and I am sure that turbidity is the ashes that are released during erosions that fall on the water surface, and I am sure that these ashes form sites for pathogenic organisms. According to the contemporary African literature, a poem book by the Oxford School, it states that germs are living organisms born to natural gangsterism. And so when these pathogenic substances that are on the water surface, they cause pollution of the water by trying to bring diseases onto the animals. Secondly, we talked about the nitrates. We are sure they said that nitrates eutrophication bring us nitrates or other chemicals that are formed in the water surface. But I want to tell them that whether or not eutrophication occurs, the nitrates that are formed, that are in the water surface, can cause dissolve and cause the blue baby syndrome, which is a cause of death to babies worldwide. Thank you.
Proposition, you have 1 minute for your final statement.
Vivian Richard, Makueni Girls High School. I believe, to that proposer, I believe that my friend over there has stated that in the Indian Ocean, the vessels that are used to transport people and things in the machinery, in their machines, they tend to release oil into the sea. You said that metals are God-made, right? You also said that you are also the same people who say that water contamination is adding any other substance to water bodies. I don't then see how it is possible of the same substance to contaminate itself into the water bodies. Please, don't contradict your statements. And also onto my other point, we all want to conserve water, right? When we recycle water, they are taken to the industries where too many chemicals are added so that the water can be safe for drinking. Who doesn't want to smile with snow white teeth? Who doesn't? And that is why when the chlorine is too much in our water, it tends to cause fluorosis, which discolors our teeth and lowers our self-esteem. And that is why I'm urging you to please cross over to our side and join us propose this motion that human irresponsibility is to blame for water contamination globally. Thank you.
Opposition, 1 minute for your final statement.
Ha 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 ha. When the madness of the old nation affect a solitary mind, it's not enough to say the man is mad. That was Jerry, not I. I'm here to just tell you, first of all, I'm dissatisfied with the organizers of this event. We should be having 6 seats on that side and not 3. A sample case study on River Luma, Kiva Ward, Machakos County. The amount of water contamination by natural causes was more than the amount polluted by actually the humans. This shows that the natural causes of human contamination is more, the natural causes of water contamination is more and have outweighed the human responsibility cases. Let me tell you, the first proposer said that the Lake Victoria is being polluted by water hyacinth. Is that a human responsibility? Then, all about filters.com, it says that chlorine is never added into water. But these natural causes, they are down on earth. And when they find water, they dissolve into it. And that water becomes contaminated. Is that still human responsibility? Thank you.
Makueni girls, good introduction, Vivian Richard. You explained how water contamination occurs from a point of knowledge. We could obviously see that you understand your topic very well, and that is good. Purity Saidi, good cross-examination skills. I was impressed by the way you know how to go about it. Then good mastery of content. You used complex words in expressing your opinion, but you are able to give us the definitions of those terms that you thought your audience might not understand, which is a powerful part on your side. Michelle Mutinda, good mastery of language. Avoid reading through. I realize that you're reading through your points. That means you had not mastered your content well. So next time, just learn to read through your content and then understand and express it naturally.
Mwala School. I love the way, Paul Ojijo, you took advantage of the failure of Makueni girls to define some of the terms, and you did it. That was quite good. You also mentioned something on a book to be read, but then the pages, I think you just made a mistake. You said page 290 to page 220. That is normal when you are speaking in public. Moses and Alvin. Try to be more fluent next time. I think that is the major comment that is coming out. And Warungu, this is an audience, not a congregation.
This is purely a proposition of relationship, and we have a cause and effect. Human irresponsibility and what it ends up doing to water globally. And so there are so many examples, I think, to both teams that you could have alluded to. And I think Mwala School, your examples were more towards natural causes, saying that this is purely not a human angle. To Makueni girls, there's a lot of examples that you could have floated as well. And I think I want to commend some of the examples that you're giving. But what you want to do now when you have the facts and the likes, and I think my colleague has put it across, now the style of delivery, and that's especially to you, Michelle, okay? You don't want to read so much, okay? You want to really talk to the people, because debate, remember, is an art of persuasion, all right? So you don't want to just read a lot and do all that. But I want to commend the rest of you because you are good speakers as well on stage. All the best.
We have come to the moment we all wait for at the end of the debates, the numbers. With a difference of only 1%, meaning that this race was quite tight, we have Makueni Girls High School with 67%. Let's appreciate them. And we have Mwala School with 68%, making them the winners of our debates. Congratulations to both schools.
Indeed, dear debaters, remember that every setback is a setup for a different comeback. To our learners who lost this debate, remember, today's loss is a leap towards tomorrow's success. We'd like to appreciate all our sponsors who've made this possible. Blaze by Safaricom, Brand Kenya Board, as they help us see that every school will debate to make Kenya a better place. I've been your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperanza Kapanga. Keep the conversations going. #GDC for SDGs. Stay tuned.